And so you can look at an image, you can look at a picture, and just in an hour. We glad to bring Art by Friday on the show. What's the most expensive piece you've ever sold?
Oh, the glass piece for sure. Yeah, I made a glass portrait of Snoop Dogg. That one went for about like.
What would be something that you would give as far as like advice to up and coming artists?
Pay attention to the wave. You know what I'm saying? Pay attention to the wave for real, because if you focus on yourself and you focus on that, the sky's not even the limit. It's like limitless.
Hey guys, we realize a lot of you are coming to the page and enjoying the content, but we see a lot of you still aren't subscribed. And so if you could click that subscribe button, it'll help our channel grow and give you more episodes with a lot of amazing individuals. Welcome back to another episode of Attractive Mindset. And listen, today's guest, we had to bring him on because talk about consistency, the time put in, the work put in, the effort put in. And sometimes you really just got to stay behind the scenes and just watch people as they grow. We always grow, and it's always a journey, but you always got to give flowers to those in moments that they expect it and don't expect it. And so we glad to bring Art by Friday on the show.
Yo, what's going on, y'all?
Welcome, man. Welcome. So for the people who don't know, just give a little insight to yourself and introduce yourself.
Yeah, so I go by the name Art by Friday. A lot of people ask me too, like how I got the name and how this all came about with the artwork and stuff. But literally, I was just having a really good time on a Friday. You know, people like to go shopping, hit the mall on Fridays, payday. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people feel good on Friday, so I was just throwing a event at that time, and one of my homegirls, she was like, "Man, you too lit! Oh my god, like you too lit! Yo, your name should be Friday." It didn't hit me at first, you know what I'm saying? Until like I was like, "Hold on, that kind of sounds like lit for real." Like you know what I'm saying? I could run with that, and then like later down the road, I just kept building off of that because I was like, I could create a real crazy slogan off of it or a brand off of it or something like that to where it's like I'm dropping artwork every Friday.
Facts.
When people see me outside, they like, yo, why they call him Friday? Or like, how you got that name? Or like, it's always some type of stigma on top of like positive vibes on it. So I just ran with that. But the artwork, I've been doing artwork for probably over 10 years now.
Sheesh.
Yeah. So like I started at first, at first when I went to college, I started off in construction engineering, but I was like, I wasn't feeling it. And I felt like I had to follow like my parents' footsteps because, I'm Haitian. So everybody wants you to be a doctor, a lawyer or something like, in that 9-to-5 life.
They were in that field?
Yeah. So like my mom's a respiratory therapist and my dad's a construction engineer.
Gotcha.
So for me, I was always like the kid that was an outside kid. I was always balling when I was younger and things like that and staying outside with the outside sports. But I didn't ever see myself going down that lane, just to live that 9-to-5 life. I was more about entrepreneurship. You know what I'm saying? I like to get fresh.
Yeah.
In high school, I was working at the sneaker stores, meeting celebrities, seeing like the real life, like real young. And also, I've been flying for over 15 years for free. So,
damn.
And a lot of people kind of like look at me like, yo, how you did that? Like, how you got that? But like my best friend, like his dad was in the Air Force and then he worked for Continental back then, which is United now. And then, I was just flying back and forth to New York, going to fashion weeks and just keeping myself around that crowd. Like, you know what I'm saying? The things that make me feel most alive is what I like to stick around. You know what I'm saying? And after I realized going through college, man, like those late nights studying, I was like, this not for me, And I ended up venturing off into the art world and went to the Art Institute of Fort Lauderdale down here. Started off in graphic design, got my graphics degree, and then moved to Gainesville, went to UF and wanted to go study photography. And then after that, I was like, everything that they're teaching me in school is cool and all, but at the same time, it's not really what I want to do for real. Because when you go to art school, they teach you like the fundamentals of the art and they teach you the programs and things that you will need to like work for a company instead of teaching you like how to be a real entrepreneur or start your own brand and business and things like that. They just kind of teach you the tools to use, which is cool because that's what built my foundation. Yeah. And then after that, so this year, 2025 for Art Basel, I'm collaborating with an artist called Artlanta, and we're about to have an event that's going crazy December 5th, man. I hope to see all of y'all there. It's going to be a lot of people, a lot of action, a lot of creativity, a lot of motion, man. So make sure you come through, man. Check your boy out. Check Artlanta out. Art Basel 2025. Stay tuned. Come check us out, man. The Art by Friday came along, and I started that brand, and then I just really sat down and took time off to figure out how to organize myself, So that was real cool. And at that time, for like going through the things I went through, like school and going to different events and going to different places in the world just to create that vision, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then after that, bro, I just took flight with it, and I had to, well, not only that, but I had to create a plan. So like the plan that I created was called the Loophole.
Okay.
So I live in South Florida. So
You
out
from
here,
here?
yeah, I'm from Hollywood.
Okay.
So I'm always in Miami though, but the lifestyle it brings, you gotta have this certain type of persona, this look, in order to fit in with this crowd, to get this type of money. You know what I'm saying? So I created something called the Loophole, to where it's like I was already in it, not even knowing I was putting myself in it. Because me flying back in the day in college and high school and all that stuff for free, and just seeing the world, kind of like helped me realize a lot. And I didn't even know it was like a loophole, until I started figuring out what I wanted to put in the plan.
Gotcha.
So I'm like, you know what? Let me keep the flights by just going to work for the airlines. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not gonna depend on my best friend to hold me down forever. So I was like, let me just go get a job at the airline and see how it works. And then I was like, yo, this is where it's at. Now I got a little key to the door where I can be here, there, and promote myself the right ways in different places, instead of just staying at home and creating that one fan base. You know what I'm saying? Because I have friends all over, which I'm pretty sure you do too. So it was cool for me to be able to pop in and out different holidays and keep my face out there.
Facts.
So from there, I was like, the next thing to do now is look good being outside while I'm showing up to the events. So I'm like, started messing with a couple exotic rental car companies. And I was like, all right, so I got the flights, I got the cars. I already know I got the talent in the background, you know what I'm saying? So I don't have to worry too much about that. But, the next thing where I was at with it now is just networking with like DJs and promoters and things like that. Because I know that they're literally like the source to get in the place that I need to be to get me to the next level. You know what I'm saying? Without having to be like, oh, I got to wait on somebody to go make a move to go to this place. Facts. It's like, I already know the DJ. He already got our name on the list. We good,
Yeah.
Because not everybody want to be outside waiting in line, especially if you're going in the club for a purpose.
Facts.
I want to just get in, handle what I got to handle, and then jet.
Exclusive.
Yeah. So, I mean, over time, that built up, and it just opened my eyes to more things I wanted to add in the Loophole, just to make the process a little easier for me, because not everybody has a team, and I feel like working by yourself and taking time to sit out from all the partying and things like that, it all comes together as one, like in my mind. Like, I'm not a type of person that has to be outside all the time. I can sit and take a year off or half a year off just to plan for the next 2 years or the next 6 months. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, just to be ahead of the game, because if I'm not, then I'm over here making phone calls and trying to figure out who can help me and do this and do that. But as I'm going through these lanes, I'm meeting the people that I like. They're inspired by what I'm doing. They want to see me grow. You know what I'm saying? Like, so like, with that being said, like, I can't expect my friends to make me rich. You know what I'm saying? I can't expect people that are always around me to take me to this level. I gotta go see different places. I gotta be in different environments, different back doors with the people that's making real moves,
Facts.
Because I want to have that type of motion. So I gotta move that way.
Facts.
But at the same time, I'm not trying to break my pocket just to be looking nice and doing these things. That it all adds up. You know what I'm saying? Like, but at the same time too, you got to have a budget. You can't, like, in the beginning when I was fresh out of college, I'm paying for like my own materials. I'm like paying for all the projects that I'm doing, whether or not it's like, whether or not it's for an event or just for somebody personal. I know I'm coming out of my own pocket just to put that wow factor, that shock value in somebody's face, just to be like, oh damn, how you did that?
Yeah.
Or when you had the time to make this, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Things like that. So that's pretty much how I started, bro. Like,
okay,
getting into it.
I mean, that's a solid start. Like, even just hearing your process through it, you could tell that you took a lot of time to just be with yourself. Oh, yeah. And I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs nowadays don't take the time to do that because they're like, oh, if I'm not on the scene, I'm missing something, or I'm missing out, or I'm not going to get this back. And really taking that step back to just isolate, you know, it's going to take your business to the next level because you can't always be on the scene. Even when you making money, that's not how you keep the money that you just made.
And it's okay, like, if you have like a 9 to 5 or anything like that. But I feel like everything in life is about balance. You know what I'm saying? No matter what career path you in, it's all about balance. So like, I feel like too, like, you know, my girl, she definitely helps me out a lot. And, you know, just being in the path of being so driven into something where you see there's a bigger outcome for yourself and for the people around you, you gotta have balance. You know what I'm saying? Some people have it, some people don't, but some people have other ways to fill in that gap. You know what I'm saying? Just to keep the ball rolling and accomplish the things that they want to accomplish.
And you gotta have like, I'm glad you said that, because a good partner is gonna take you to the next level. Like when I was getting this spot and the 2 guys copped out, I was like, damn, you know, I'll just wait and get something smaller or do something, whatever, blah, blah. And she was like, whatever they were going to do, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And you got to have a boss female like that in your life. That's going to put you like, whoa, what? Like, what happened? Instead of just along for the ride, you know, being able to step up to the plate and say, hey, I'm here to help wherever I can. And that's important.
Yeah, it's super important. Because, I mean, at the same time where it's like, you know, there's different type of artists out here. There's artists that are involved in many different forms of art. You know what I'm saying? But there's a difference between that artist that is able to go do daytime events, and then there's a difference between an artist that lives a nightlife style. Because when you have a partner, you know, they have to understand, like, okay, you know, and this is not everybody. Some people understand, some people don't, you know, but one that understands, like, okay, if you're an artist and, you know, your source of income is coming from the nightlife, I gotta be okay with you going out or sometimes coming home late and things like that. At least I know you're out there making moves.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? At least I know the motion is going and is continuing. So, I mean, that's really a main part right there. They understanding for sure.
So I want to take it back a little bit, you know, with your parents being more technical driven, you know, how'd you get into art? Like, what was growing up for you like?
So, like, growing up for me was like I said, I was really an outside person. So I think what made me so diversified was that I was involved in sports super heavy, but I wasn't involved in like the main sports everybody like, you know, loves in Florida, like, you know, football, basketball, baseball, everybody's on it, like, you know, soccer. For me, I was like, I've been playing football since Pee-wee, you know, and I was skating at the same time. So I used to skateboard and I used to inline skate.
Okay.
So that was really big like back then, because I mean, like, I had friends that were at like my at school friends, and then I had like my at home friends. You know what I'm saying? So it's like not everybody I chill with at school chills like in my neighborhood, you know. And plus, I'm around a lot of different neighborhoods.
Yeah.
So I'm in different hoods, and then I'm in like the suburbs. You know what I'm saying? So it's like some of my friends, they will be looking at me differently, trying to make me feel a type of way, because they like, oh, you not about to do this with us today? You about to go do that? Oh, you this type of person? And I'm like, not saying anything, just soaking everything in. I'm like, you know, I just brush it off, because for me, I feel like, you know, the judgment didn't really have any effect on me. I had fun doing different things regardless. But what pushed me to the creativity was the fact that the construction engineering kind of brought out a different side of me. You know, I was always like a car guy, but I was really into architecture heavy. I just love like the feeling I get when I walk in a hotel, or I go on a cruise ship, or I go overseas and I walk in a building, or I go into a store and I'm just like having that feeling, you know what I'm saying? Where it's like, I didn't even get the service yet, but just walking into those doors,
it's a nice vibe.
It made me feel good. You know, then everything starts kicking in, the smell, you know, how people are treating me and everything like that. But yeah, man, I used to be drawing all day in class. I used to be one of those, bro, in the back of the class in the composition notebook going crazy, you know? What's crazy about it too is like I don't even have like many drawings from back in the day and things like that because it was scratchbook stuff, you know what I'm saying? I was going through composition books like nothing, you know? But I realized that the 9-to-5 life and being that technical, going to college and focusing on like a real career for real, I feel like my time was more valuable than that. Coming from down here, we see people that are old driving Rolls Royces back to back all the time, or they got the condos or the houses or this, that, you know. I never seen myself to live to be 50, 60 years old and like finally like, oh yeah, I just got 100,000 like, you know, to spend, you know. I wanted to always have that feeling young so I could enjoy it more and create more opportunities for me, you know what I'm saying? But like that was really the main thing right there, just trying to keep my eye off of what everybody's trying to portray and just focus on my own vision and go in a straight direction.
Nah, that's major. And so at what point did you say, yo, I can actually sell this art to make money?
Well, like when I was going to college, a lot of these platforms were starting to become really big. Like, you know what I'm saying? Instagram was probably just starting to get real popping out there. And I was like, how can I take advantage of this? Like for real. But as I got into things, because you never know if you don't try, you know what I'm saying? So like, of course, me making an account, diving into it, seeing what's really on the site, I was like, not really seeing artists for real do their thing, because at that time I was more focused on photography. So I was following a lot more people that shoot, and you know, they're working with people. And
who are some of your top photographers?
I would say Derek G was one of my top photographers at that point in time. Who's another one? Ivan Barrios.
I feel like his name is familiar.
Yeah, he shoots for DJ Khaled. Yeah, like they both got like really nice styles and stuff like that. But I also wasn't really big on just having like one person as an idol I looked up to. I would be just more like a magazine person or something like that. Like
and you like it.
Yeah, and then until like the gram came, then I was like this. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, yo, I can just do this. It's lit. You know, search what I want and then pop up and see as many pages as I want. But going through the platforms really opened everything for me. I was able to kind of just see, you know, at least the first step in, I was able to see how people were making money off of photography. Then I was like, all right, I see that. But once I ventured into like starting Art by Friday and just starting with my first collection, I was like, I wonder what I could make. You know what I'm saying? But not knowing, oh, if I get this material or that material is going to be more cost effective for me to make this amount more in profit. So that's when it like things start breaking, because I realized that like I'm by myself, solo, no team, trying to figure it out. So I'm trying to just make sure everything's put in order for me to make the biggest dollar, but still be inspired by the things I'm creating. Because you can easily get lost, you know what I'm saying, in what you're creating. But for me, I was like, you know what? Let me just go with it, try it out. I think I had a pop-up shop maybe like 5 or 6 years ago, and I did it literally on the street in Wynwood, bro. Like all my art was on the ground in the street on the backside on 95.
And that was your first event?
That was my first pop-up, bro. And like, I'm not gonna lie, it was a good turnout, bro. Like 40 people came. I sold like 10 pieces, and like it was lit. You know what I'm saying?
What were you selling pieces for back then?
Back then I was selling pieces for like 200, 250. Like, you know, I was working with wood a lot back then. You know, I got inspired like when I was in woodshop class in high school. It was like I was going crazy a little bit. Like once he showed me how to make a nameplate, you know, out of wood, I was like, oh, I'm about to take off with this. I was like, yo, you can cut wood so easy like this? I can make any shape and then paint it?
Do you feel like construction engineering helped your art?
Most definitely. I mean, like, with the construction engineering part, like I was kind of diving deep in there. Like I was in drafting classes like 4 years throughout high school, and I actually took another year. So I did like 2 years in one time, and I could have got a scholarship for it, but I was like, this is not for me. And like in that class, it was so lit because we were able to build mad different things. We was able to build our dream house. We was able to build commercial buildings, but like actual like models, you know what I'm saying? Miniature models and things like that. And that to me was interesting.
Facts.
And it was a challenge too. Cause I see all my other classmates trying to be competitive. And I'm like, you know what? I know how creative I am. So let me just do work. And then once it got to like, you know, the real cut and sew, I'm like, yo, this is just different. It kind of opened my mind up to just way more opportunities. Like, yo, what could I really do with this for real? That kind of matches me and that people would like, you know what I'm saying? Because everybody's moving into new apartments, new condos, new houses, and people love home decor like OD.
Facts.
So I'm like, why don't I just, you know, put some stuff in my crib first, see how it looks. And then, you know, if it go good, then I'm pretty sure they'll like it too. And then I just went with that, had the pop up, bro, sold my pieces. And then it was like a light bulb just went off. And that was it, bro. It was history from there.
Sheesh. So for the people who don't know the type of art that you do right now, what would you say is the genre or the vibe of the kind of pieces that you create?
So to be honest, I'm like really like all over the place. Like I don't really set myself like in one corner. I feel like there's so many different mediums of art you can really mess with. You know what I'm saying? Even if you're like into portraits or you're into abstract art, you could do a lot with so many different materials. Like, you know, just an art basel that goes down every year out here.
Facts.
You see the most wildest things, you know what I'm saying? And literally that's not even their main source of art that they push out. Sometimes they do it for this event because it's a special event. And I noticed that there's profit that you can make in different ways depending on what companies you like to mess with or what fits you best. You know what I'm saying? What fits you best sometimes is not going to make you the most money. You know, it's really about being comfortable in just your creativity alone. So this way you could be diverse and work, you know, have different projects. But for me, like, I started off with wood at first and then like just seeing online what other people were doing kind of opened my mind up too, and traveling and seeing other artists in different countries do their thing. Gotcha. Made me like realize, yo, I gotta just start working with more materials because why not? You know,
somebody like your big art inspo when it comes to like people who you look to when you first started off?
When I first started off, I would say there's a guy called Rob the Original. He's based out of California. He's a Mexican artist. He goes crazy, man. He goes crazy. He shows me like really what you can do with art for real. And you know, aside from just being creative, nowadays your income can come through like one brand in like 7 different ways. So nowadays they can have pop-up shops or like, you know, events. They can hold raffles. They could do all different types of things to make income just off of one project. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't necessarily like you have to just stay stuck in one type of medium. You could literally, if you're like working for a restaurant that may have commissioned you, they might want their logo, but like, yo, how you gonna get creative with it? They'll just sit you down and be like, how you gonna get your style just because you are who you are. And then like a dude like Rob will be like, yo, I'll make an ice sculpture out of your logo. You know what I'm saying? Something just out of like, you know, he puts the shock value, not only just like coming out with his own creativeness, like he puts the shock value to all his projects to where it stands out from all his other projects. And I looked at that like, man, you don't have to be stuck in one lane. You can always go this way or that way and still make the same amount of money and then come back to the original stuff you like working on. Facts. You know what I'm saying? So I like the way, you know, he works with that. But that was definitely one artist that I was motivated and inspired by for real.
Yeah, when I first met you, it was one of the glass pieces that you was working on. And I'm like, yo, that's crazy.
And from that, bro, like I got that actually from a French artist. I can't even remember what his name was for real, but he doesn't make glass, but he cracks glass into portraits and he does like amazing work, bro. Like he does so much amazing work to where he got deals with the city to put his glass pieces on trains.
Wow.
So the windows of the trains passing by will have his glass pieces in them, like, you know, and then like he'll go to commercial buildings and have like a whole panel of glass cracked into a portrait. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's levels to it. You know what I'm saying? Which, like, you know, I feel like one day I'm gonna definitely get to the level where I can get commissioned by some big companies too to do some work. Cause that just leads to, you know, more ideas, bro, and more projects for real.
And so when you're so walk us through the process of cracking glass to make art, because I can me, when I think about glass, like you drop a glass cup on the floor, like it's gonna go everywhere. And so how do you make it do or go where you want it to go?
So I mean, at first it was tricky. Like this wasn't my original like idea, but it took for me to watch a million Instagram reels for me to figure out, okay, what tools do you have to really use? Because at first when I try, and it's expensive, bro. Like
really,
glass projects is expensive. Like I'm like for a 4x4, like 4 feet by 4 feet panel of glass is like $700.
Damn.
It could go from like $700 to $1,000,
and that's just the glass.
And
so
bro, it don't even make. And the crazy
mistake.
part about it is the glass is special, so it doesn't even matter if you minimize the size of the glass. You're still gonna be paying top dollar for it.
Damn.
So if you mess up, then it's like you just burnt your money.
Yeah.
So the process really was just finding out what type of glass first it was, and then finding out what tools I needed to actually make the portraits. So it took me watching thousands of videos, and then I'm finally like, all right, I got it. Or at least I think I got it. So I'm going to go get these tools and try it out. And then I tried it out, bro. And, you know, really it's like, you have to start somewhere. So you have to crack the glass. It doesn't matter. You have to crack it somewhere to start the shape or start the line or something, like, you know, so you can give you an idea of what to continue. And I feel like working off of like a phone or a computer, it's tough, bro. It's tough because you're upscaling the size of art that you really want to make. And it's not easy just doing that off of looking at something and going to work. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people think it's just like that easy, but it's really not, especially when you're going through using different tools. Then you got to step away, look at it. Then you got to go back in, and people could be watching you. I could be doing like, you know, a live show. So it's like, you know, sometimes the pressure is there, but at the end of the day, it's like, I like to turn around and look at the crowd and see the effect it's giving off on everybody. You know what I'm saying? To see people smiling or like, you know, telling that homie next to him, like, yo, you got to check this out. Like, oh, we got to get in touch with him. We got to make some moves, or I need something from my house. Like, you know, that's really what like kept the drive going in the creativity, or to just keep me working on the piece. Cause I'm not gonna lie, sometimes it gets frustrating, bro. You know, when you make a crack too far or the picture ends up being smaller than it's supposed to be, and then you got to fill in the gaps. So it's like trials and tribulation, honestly. Like you got to start somewhere.
And on average, how long does it take you to do like a project like that?
Well, like in the beginning, it took me like, for that size, like 4 feet by 4 feet. And usually I only work that size because it's just the best profit wise after I sell it. Maybe about like 2 hours.
Oh, that's not that
depending
long.
on the detail though. Depending on the detail. But now I do it way faster. So like in the beginning, it was about 2 hours. Now it'll probably take me close to an hour, depending on the detail.
And so you can look at an image, you can look at a picture, and just in an hour. Sheesh.
But it takes me staring at it for a good while to be like, all right, I know where I want to start. You know what I'm saying? Like starting from like the hairline or anything from like the upper part of the head is always the easiest because you can just form the shape. Or it depends on, honestly, the profile you're trying to sketch from. If it's a side profile, I usually like to start from like the nose and the eyes, this part, and then carry down to like the chin, you know what I'm saying? And then round it out, you know what I'm saying? The eyes get tricky sometimes, but once you start cracking, the glass kind of makes its own shadows for you.
Got it.
So it makes it a little easier where you don't have to kind of just crack everywhere. But then again, too, it depends on the detail. You know what I'm saying? Like if I was creating like a portrait of like Denzel compared to like the Joker, it's two different things. You know what I'm saying? The Joker is like wearing makeup And then you got Denzel that's like, you got to get that facial expression. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you just really got to pay attention to what you're doing and know the tools you're using.
Got it. Yeah. Okay. No, that's dope. And so in you curating this, going from regular pop-up shops, did you go the route of, yo, I'm gonna just make some artwork of some celebrities and then give it to them?
Nah, see, like a lot of people think that kind of happened like that, but it didn't really happen like that. So like there was one time, I would say about 2 years ago, 3 years, probably about 3 years ago. It was like a little bit after I moved back from Gainesville. I was working alongside my partner Soto. He's an artist as well. He's lit, man. He's lit. He does some really nice artwork.
He out here?
Yeah. He's based out here. He be back and forth from Colombia though.
Okay.
But I was working with him on a project, and this is what actually kind of ventured me off into what shock value really was. So he did like a really nice painting, kind of like some Renaissance, like urban Renaissance type art. And it was pretty big, bro. It was like maybe like a 10 feet by 5 feet, like picture. And what he does is he takes like these old Renaissance pictures from like magazines or things from back in the day or like whatever he sees. And then he like throws ski mask on them. So like that's his vibe or whatever. So what I had did, because, you know, he sees me as kind of like a creative director as well, because I still have that vision from like the photography and videography that plays a part, you know, in what I do. And he was like, yo, I wanted you to help me out with a project. So I'm like, all right, bet. And we ended up taking his big painting down to Brickell and like just like walking through Brickell with it. But we didn't just walk through Brickell with it. Well, I had like my stepson, you know, dress up nice and crazy tuxedo. And then I had like 2 crazy, great looking beautiful models, like just holding hands with them. And then like I played my role as a creative director by organizing that and being within the scene as well. So as he's walking in front of me with the models, you know, holding their hands crossing the street and stuff like that in front of all these restaurants in Brickell, I'm in the back too. Mind you, we all have ski masks on. So nobody knows what we're doing or what's going on. All I know is that everybody's just like looking outside the restaurant, coming outside the restaurant like, yo, what's going on? Because they see all these people in suits and ski masks. You know what I'm saying? And then they see the kid there holding hands with the model, like, yo, who is this dude? Like, you know, he's just casually walking across the street, like holding hands with him or whatever. And then you see the portrait in the background, like the big art piece in the background right behind him. And I'm holding it up like I'm his security, like we transporting art or something, like, you know, like we some art dealers. So like, once I learned the shock value, then I started putting that to like towards my products. And from there, literally, that's when I was like, you know what, let me just take it up a notch. You know, every project that I do, I want people to see that, like, this is crazy. No matter what the artist looks like, this is crazy. You know what I'm saying? And what's crazy, I could be standing right next to the person. They wouldn't even know.
Facts.
And then they just be like, you made this? I'm like, yeah, I made this. They're like, yo, that's crazy. But when they see me working on it, it's like a whole nother level, bro. Whole nother level.
Sheesh. Art is such like I feel like art bridges the gap between like different cultures, different vibe, different everything, you know, and there's a different way for everybody to appreciate art in their own kind of style. So with that, you know, you curating these kind of shock value kind of things and everything. Now in your conversation with bigger brands or bigger people, what does your mind have to shift towards to be like, okay, I got to focus on this type of sale. I got to focus on this type of, you know, presentation, because now you're dealing with a different audience. And so I've always wondered about that gap from, you know, how an art piece, you know, like a banana being taped on the wall go, you know, from $200 to
200,000.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, like, I think that like the process is what you make it. You know what I'm saying? Because if you don't feel a type of way about the art you're creating, then the person next to you is not going to feel like that. If you feel like, yo, this is the best thing I ever made, just like some artists that make music, they make music sometimes and then they'll like never put it out. And then they'll feel like, oh, this is old to me. I don't need it. There's no reason for me to put it out no more. But if you feeling like that, if you act like that, the people that's receiving it, or once you put it out, they might feel like that too. Or they might be like, yo, this is the new hottest thing, but it may be old to you. For me, I just kind of go in that lane of just not thinking about what everybody else thinks and only just kind of have my plan together and focus like strictly on that, because that's the only thing that's really gonna make you diverse for real. Because if you're on the gram just looking at stuff and you're trying to get inspired about like what everybody else is creating, you're never gonna have that shock value for your artwork, because you're continuously trying to like be like somebody else, you know what I'm saying? And then the people next to you, they're gonna notice that eventually.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? So you want to just kind of focus on your own plane, and that's how the originality really stands out. You know what I'm saying? Or you don't really want people to just be like, oh, your vibe gives me this type of vibe with this other artist. You know what I'm saying? You want somebody to be like, yo, I never seen anything like this before. I need this in my house. Like, yo, when can we get this done? I'll drop that deposit right now. Like, you know, that's what you want people to be like.
Have you ever come into a situation where somebody just runs off with the art?
Nah. Like, I know, like, when I set up my events and everything like that, I make sure to be solid with it and hire security. I hire a bartender. I hire like a whole staff to make sure everything's running right.
Got it.
I don't think like, I mean, I'm not going to say that nobody wouldn't try one day, but like, I think that the respect has always been there, you know what I'm saying? For at least like the process of how I create my art and, you know, the people I keep around me, you know what I'm saying? It's like not that type of environment for anybody to be even thinking like that, because it wouldn't make sense. You know what I'm saying? Why even want to go through that trouble, you know?
Nah, facts.
Yeah.
Has there ever been a point of time where you've had a like hiatus over the 10 years to just be like, yeah, I might stop?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Like, I mean, it's not like really necessarily to stop. It's more to kind of like take time off so that I can get back in motion and go harder than I have ever went before. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes artists need that break.
Yeah.
Just to get re-inspired, just to be able to go see new things, just to be able to have conversation about new things that may open you up to new ideas. Like, you know, even just like going to different events and things like that you're not hosting. It kind of it puts an effect on you just to like stay focused. And taking time off, I feel like that's when it all goes back to the balance I was talking about. You know what I'm saying? You have to have balance. You don't have to necessarily be creating every day and things like that just to try to make another dollar. You want to kind of create because it makes you feel good. You don't want to.
How often have you created like now?
Like now, all right. So when I was dropping like my first collections, I was going crazy, bro. I was like just really thinking about like how many people will come to my like pop up, or how much could I make off of making this amount of pieces. So at first I was going crazy, bro, not knowing like, yo, I could just slow it down and think smarter. You know what I'm saying? I was making like 100 pieces for like a collection. You know what I'm saying?
And how long it took you to do those?
About a month.
Got you.
Yeah, about a month, you know, because like I was working with resin a lot with the wood pieces. So, you know, it takes time to dry, to cure, you know what I'm saying? So I could be able to, you know, sell something that's quality for real. But everything takes time, man. And it's all about balance. Like for me, I wouldn't say like I took a full year off, because going back to when you was talking about the celebrities, last year, during Art Basel, I did something I haven't done before. And that was just really making my world smaller than what it is. Because everybody be like, oh, this world is small. Like you be seeing people meet people, especially us living down here. We run into people all the time. We see celebrities out everywhere. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's nothing, you know? So for me, I know that like the shock value and to have like that connected to a specific fan base, really that's not the only thing that I'm focused on. I'm focused on trying to get with the people that's going to get me to the next level. There's always another level with being creative as an artist, you know what I'm saying? And for me, I feel like targeting Rolling Loud was super smart for me because it put me around people that I don't usually be around. But at the end of the day, it's like I'm not like a person that's gonna act different around famous people. Like, you know, I'm always gonna be me. Like, I'm always gonna be myself no matter who has deeper pockets than me. You know what I'm saying? It's like, if you like what I'm doing, I like what you're doing, it's like, cool. You know, we could always conversate or talk about, you know, business or whatever you want to do, you know? But at the same time, I was trying to separate myself from what a lot of artists are doing out here. You know what I'm saying? I'm the one that's really trying to create quality in a short span of time. Like, just like how I was telling you in the beginning when I was doing the glass pieces, it went from 2 hours to now I could do it in an hour. Now when I'm doing portraits, just like drawing or painting or something like that, if somebody hit me up like, yo, they're gonna be at this spot or that spot, I'm trying to get it done the night before. You know what I'm saying? Like, and sometimes it's not always like that, but you know, when you're talking about Rolling Loud and they have like 17 million events going on, it's like you just got to be ready. You know what I'm saying? And then like months before that, I'm focused on different things. You know what I'm saying? I don't have the time to just work specifically towards that event. Yeah. If I know they're telling me, yo, Travis Scott is going to be at this restaurant and da-da-da-da, and it's like, you know, these are people that are like his homie or stuff like that giving me this info. So it's like, why not take advantage of that opportunity? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, all I gotta do is make this and just pull up and I'm cooling. We in there. I was like, yeah, all right, bet. You know? So, and also going back to what I was saying, like with the DJs and the promoters and people like that, those were the people that were like the real PowerPoints to like help me get to that next level. So, and what I mean by like next level, I want to be like a person that's able to get a shoe deal one day. You know what I'm saying? Not only just being like, I got my own gallery. It's like, yo, I'm working with people like Nike. I'm working with people like, you know, big corporations, you know, for real, like trying to sign me to a deal. Like, you know, that's where it's at for real. Cause I see people out here coming out with all kind of things, you know what I'm saying? And even like exotic car companies is collabing with people, you know what I'm saying? A lot of sneaker brands, the top sneaker brands are sponsoring people, you know what I'm saying? In all different type of fields of creativity. You don't only have to be, you know, an artist to get these deals. You could be somebody just that plays football or skateboards or rides bikes or, you know what I'm saying? Anything like that, snowboard, anything like that, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like the way I grew up helped me see the vision and put me through it easier. You know, being just so diverse, doing all these things. Cause now I'm like, it helped me to think of like, yo, there's always another level to where it's like, if they could do it, I know I could do it. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of like where I'm at with it for real.
Okay. And so if you had to guesstimate, cause I already know, if you had to guesstimate how many pieces you've done over time.
Over time in my whole career, as far as right now, I've probably done like,
how many glass, how many wood?
Well, wood is way more than glass because wood is way cheaper, you know? Wood, you can buy wood, bro, for my pieces, very cheap. Very cheap, bro. Wood is nothing, you know what I'm saying? But when you're talking about glass and specific type of glass, it gets expensive. So for the wood pieces, I would bust out like 100 in a month. And I probably done well over like 250, like 250 pieces. Because the wood pieces, like I could draw them out. I can cut like a whole bunch of pieces in a week, bro. I can cut like 20 pieces in a week. All priced at like $350, $400. Yeah, that's no problem. But when it gets to like the real time consuming part of it, it's like, you know, painting the pieces, doing the resin, making sure everything's cured and dried properly, you know, no scratches, no blemishes, things like that. And then with the glass pieces, kind of like once I'm done breaking it, it's like I frame it. That's it, you know? So with the glass pieces, I probably made like, I would say like under 10. Okay. But like I messed up on a good amount though. Oh, for sure. More than 10? I don't even want to disclose that information, but like, you know, I messed up on a lot of glass pieces, bro. Damn.
Yeah. So have you ever messed up on somebody who paid for it?
Well, yeah, that happens. That happens sometimes. Like, I mean, and things happen, man, when you're messing around with like at least like paint and resin, it gets messy, man. Like, or sometimes it doesn't cure right, and then you have to pour more, or you have to hit another coat of paint. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it happens like that, but with the clientele that I have, they're more like reasonable because they already understand that like I'm so consistent and like talented. So they like, yo, don't worry about it, bro. It's like, as long as you get it done, like, yo, as long as I can have it there, it's all good, bro. Just, don't take too long.
Nah, So when you say that you can do these things within 2 to 1 hours or whatever, what's the turnaround time that you usually give them?
So the turnaround time, well, I mean, at least for like the celebrities, I don't really give them a turnaround time. I just try to like to show up with it. Because if I give them a turnaround time, it's kind of like they already expecting it. And I feel like for me, that brings the shock value down.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? I just want to show up to wherever they at. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I'm not going to lie, like, I would say like 95% of the people that I've gifted these pieces to, they've actually taking them with them. Because sometimes you'll get people that like gift art to these celebrities like at shows or if they pop up somewhere and things like that, and these celebrities will take your art pieces, bro, and put them in the warehouse, or they'll give them away to their family or another fan or something like that, or leave it at the place that they were just at. You know what I'm saying? But for me, I was actually fortunate and lucky enough for people to take my pieces with them, bro. So that's like totally different for me. So like the shock value goes a long way, bro, when you're not telling them anything, you just surprising them. Yeah.
So, hearing all of this and how you frame the business and everything, it makes me think about like growth and scaling. How do you as an artist scale? Because regardless if we have a certain passion or, drive for something of what we do, we don't want to do it forever.
No, for sure.
And so being able to build something else or put something in place to grow, do you have a plan around that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, as far as right now, like I feel like putting my own money into like all my materials and everything is getting pricey. It's not as cost effective. So now I'm just, I'm focused on residual income so that this way, everything can pay for what I need.
Facts.
And also having the space to work is super important, bro. Like when you're somebody that wants to put out a lot of like projects or a lot of work, you got to have space for all your tools and your materials. You know what I'm saying? And, a lot of people don't have space.
Yep.
So like, things like residual income that I'm working on now is, I have real estate that's doing pretty good. About to open up my own bar next year.
Oh, damn.
So that's going to be
another a whole one. Bar tab license?
Yeah, a whole everything, bro. So
that license is hefty.
It's going to be crazy, man. We about to take over for real.
And you doing it in Miami or Florida?
Right now, it's undecided yet because I'm trying to figure out the architecture.
Got you.
You know what I'm saying? I already have the idea going, like moving forward, and it's going to be crazy. But as far as the residual income, though, the space, like I said, is the next thing. Once you have the money to kind of drive, your ambition and your projects and things like that, and then you have the space along with that, you're creating a whole nother picture.
Commercial real estate is where it's at.
Yeah. And down here, people like to drink, bro.
Yeah.
People like to drink and they like to look at things that are entertaining. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, how can I get in a space where I can do both? So I'm like, man, getting a bar is lit because not only I'm making money off of that, which is going to be another form of residual income, but I can also have shows in there.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? Or if anybody else that is inspired by my creativity and things like that want to book my space for their thing, they could do that as well. You know what I'm saying? So I'm trying to put myself in a position right now to get to that level so that all of these celebrities that I've been linking with and gifting art to and things like that, they're gonna be the ones showing up to the bar.
Yeah.
All the DJs and promoters that I'm linking up with, they're gonna come to the bar. Facts. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm gonna be booking them for.
So it's gonna be a high-end bar.
Yeah, and it's gonna have my art all over the place. So you're not gonna be able to miss it. But I think those two things right there is gonna definitely help drive my future for sure.
No, I like that. That's a solid foundation.
Yeah.
The fact that you even think about foundation on that level is you're gonna keep winning.
Bro, it takes time, bro. It takes time. You gotta take that time out to just sit down and really like organize your life. And a lot of these people are not willing to take that risk. And it's not even a risk.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? It should be like just positive energy and vibes that's gonna push you towards the right things and the right people, really. I don't have to party every weekend. I can sit down and think about the next 6 months. That right there is what makes me feel good. It makes me feel like the art is not a job for real.
Facts.
Because once it feels like a job, you don't want to create as much, or you don't want to be talking to so and so as much. Like, it kind of puts you in a box.
So do you find yourself having a lot of like pieces that you just practice for yourself, or that you just end up making and you just never sell it or whatever? You got a lot of inventory.
So when it comes to that, and like also going back to me making 100 pieces and things like that, after I went through that, I understood that there is no need really to do that. Even though I want to like make my fans feel good and give them something so they can have in their house too as well. That's different, because when I was doing the wood pieces, they were all one-offs. Not one piece was the same, unless it was like a homie that like, yo, I liked it that one. Like, I was like, all right, I got you, But besides that, everything was one-off. So for me, it was like really just staying in one direction, bro, just to keep creating. And I really like I said, the space is delicate. You don't want to have too much inventory. You want to like have a shop, like out of majority of all my pop-up shops, I've sold 80% of my art. At every show I've done so far with all my collections, I sold 80% each show. So I don't really have that much inventory that I bring back home. But when I do, I just give it to some of my friends, or I'll give it to an artist I'm really cool with, you know what I'm saying? Or I just put it in my house, you know what I'm saying? And make the studio look a little better. Yeah,
you put a quotable up the other day. You were like, crib finally starting to look like an Airbnb.
Yeah, bro. That's where it's at for real, man. Like the real estate is, it that also brings it back to like the construction engineering part too. Just understanding like how much people is making off of these houses, and then the home decor that's going to fill up the house, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like some of these pieces, I go into these mansions and I'm looking like what is this? And then like, they're like, yeah, this one costs 2,500. No, like 25,000. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, yo, if this artist made this for this dude, imagine how many other pieces he's probably making. You know what I'm saying? But he's not making a whole bunch of them. He's only making them on demand. Or if he has a collection, he's only having a collection that's only has like 10 units. Just so that it's like not killing the artist and then not like drowning your creativity by pushing that out to fans that just want something.
Facts.
You gotta make yourself exclusive for real.
What's the most expensive piece you've ever sold?
Oh, the glass piece for sure. Yeah, I made a glass portrait of Snoop Dogg. That one went for about like 5 racks.
Wow.
So yeah. I was like, yo, 5 racks in one sitting that's some good money, man. I was like, yo,
how do your parents feel about you taking this route now?
Bro, super lit. Like, and my mom is so supportive. My dad's so supportive. Rest in peace. Bro, like my mom's so inspired. She bought a glass piece off me. That was like, yo, I was like, word. You know what I'm saying? Like, whose parents is really doing that?
Yeah.
It's one thing to support you by being there and showing up to the events, or, accepting the fact that you got a fan base and, just to keep motivating me with good energy and stuff like that. It's that is a job in itself for a parent. You know what I'm saying? But to actually push out money, you know what I'm saying, and be like, yo, I need this in my house, you know? That's lit.
On a different level.
Yeah, man. It definitely keeps me on a higher level for real.
And so, on a closing note, what would be something that you would give as far as like advice to up and coming artists, especially ones that are out here? Because I see them all the time, and they do good work, but then I check out their social media and they're not translating the great work that they're due to the proper exposure.
Well, I mean, what I would say to them definitely is don't focus on the route that everybody's taking, but just pay attention to the wave. You know what I'm saying? Pay attention to the wave for real, because if you focus on yourself and you focus on that, like the sky's not even the limit. It's like limitless. Like you can go as far as you want to go. Creativity nowadays, everybody, anything that has to do with marketing has to do with creativity. Yeah. Regardless. If you want something to be entertaining, it has to be creative. You know, so my advice I would give to them is definitely focus on your own dreams and focus on your lane and your energy, and don't worry about your friends making you rich. Because your friends are not going to make you rich. You know, I see a lot of people go on Instagram and they talk about, you know, their friends not supporting them, or their family not supporting them, or their acquaintances, the people that are closest to them in their circle, not supporting them. But even if they do support, it's not going to take you to where you want to be in life. You know, that's not going to, your dream's not going to just all of a sudden be accomplished. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You still got to work. You still got to do things. You still got to inspire others. You still got to create, but focus on your own lane, man, because the outside is where it's at. You don't, like, some people never leave home. Some people stay in that same city or that same state all their life. Never get to see the world. But if you can see the outside world, that's all the motivation you need. Though once you get that one click, that one snap of a finger to where it's like that crowd is exposed to what you do, it's over. And even like musicians could tell you that. Like, you know, people, these people that are signed to all these labels and stuff like that, everybody think they're getting money for real, but that's just a loan.
Facts. They gotta pay that back.
Yeah, but when you see people like Sway Lee and people like Gunna, and they going overseas and they getting that overseas check.
What's up, guys? It's Dallin King. If you want to learn more about Trade Devi and everything that we're about, link in the description for the Discord and website.
Bro, that's already booked and out the way easily. You know what I'm saying? They're getting that guarantee because they're reaching that outside world. They're not worried about their camp in Atlanta making them rich. They're not worried about Rolling Loud making them rich.
Facts.
They're worried about whoever else is paying attention. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like, you know, just focus on yourself, man. Focus on your drive. Focus on your game plan. And that will really set the road. And believe in God.
Facts.
Believe in God, man. God is the greatest. And he has a plan for all of us.
Absolutely.
So with that, bro, yo, you'll set up your whole future.
Man, Friday, this interview was good. It got to teach us a little bit more about you and, you know, your process through the art, through the, you know, looking from behind the glass.
Yeah.
And so if people wanted to find out, you know, more about you, where your next event is, all of that stuff, where can they find you at?
Yo, you can find me at artbyfriday__ on Instagram. I'm also dropping another Instagram, which is going to be Art by Friday TV. And that's going to show you, I'm going to start dropping episodes, man. Every last Friday of the month, the people got to get something. You know what I'm saying? So follow that. You know, YouTube, you can find me there too, Art by Friday. And yeah, man, we're going to keep it pushing. We're going to keep that good energy alive and keep creating.
Facts, man. Listen, this has been another episode of Attractive Mindset. And if you like this episode, make sure that you share this with somebody. Make sure that if you are artists, make sure you share this with other artists, because there's a lot of gems in here. There's a lot of useful information that just help you grow your brand to the level that you might want to get to. So it's your host, Moneybag Rich. At the end of the day, we always say we look good, we live good. Life is good. Talk to us. We talk back, and we out.